Hello, welcome to Life Behind the Badge podcast. I'm Travis Adams, and I'll be here with your other host, the brains behind the project, Brandon Lovett.
That's something I've never been accused of, is having brains. This podcast was lifted off the ground pretty quick. This is an idea that I've had for a little while, but I've never really put forth the real effort to execute it. Um, I shared it with Travis. I shared my thoughts on it, and he's like, "I want in." So we kind of hit it full speed. We've got all this stuff together pretty quick. Got this collaborated pretty quick. So we're probably gonna have some bumps in the road and some trial and error, so just bear with us. The idea behind this podcast is to give a platform for not just myself and him as current law enforcement officers, but the guys we work with, other people in the community, special guests, and just to give a platform, not only share some of our stories and events that we've been through, but also the guys that we work with, give them an opportunity to share their thoughts on particular things related to policing, some of their ideas, what they love, what they hate. We hope to keep this pretty raw. We're not really going to hold back on a whole lot, with the exception of we're not going to name names, things like that. But this first episode is just going to be more or less an introductory episode, introducing Sergeant Adams, myself, kind of how we got into policing, why we got into policing, and what we're currently doing today.
Before we dive in too deep, we just want to give a shout out and recognize the people who have already gave us some words of encouragement and stuff. We've got a lot bigger following than we expected right off the bat, and we greatly appreciate that. I know myself, I know Brandon has too, because he's mentioned it every day. He said, "Hey, you won't believe who come up and said something to me about the podcast." They're excited to get it going and excited to see the shows. And I've had so many people come up or call or text or tell me in person that, make sure you tell me when that first episode's up. I'm looking forward to listening. So that kind of surprised both of us, I think, but we're tickled to death about it. And we just wanted to tell you all thanks. And we hope that we continue to have a good following. And we're always open to some recommendations. Like Brandon said, this is all new for us. We're beginners at this, but we're ready to dive in feet first and see what we can do. So without further ado, we'll let Brandon dive in a little bit deeper into the ideas of the podcast and how it's going to roll.
So, ideally, and what we're hoping to do is do an episode. We haven't really nailed down the schedule per se, but we're looking to do somewhere between maybe one episode a week, maybe every other week, depending on our work schedules, current events, and family things. We're both dads and husbands, so we've got a lot going on. But we hope to try to nail something down pretty quick. We hope to help educate some people, and that don't really know the ins and outs of the policing world. It's easy for us because we do it every day. It's our career. It's how we keep our lights on. But for everybody else, pretty much for the most part of the general public, the extent of the policing that they understand is seeing a police car on a wreck or seeing a police car driving really fast, but they don't really know why. They don't really know how we do it, why we do it, or when we do it. And there's a whole lot to that. So we hope to educate a little bit. We hope to continue to share, let the guys that we work with and other people in the community share as well.
Yeah, I think that's going to be cool to be able to bring some of the people we work with on here and kind of not only share some stories with them and get their perspective, but just recognize the people we work with, and not only within our department, but the fire, EMS, surrounding counties, our dispatchers, and I know there's a ton of people, our rescue squads and stuff like that, and people that we want to recognize, and the jail. So we could go on and on. I could sit here and think about people that help us out on a daily basis. But this will give us the opportunity to bring some different people on here and see the different ins and outs and the different people that make this world go around for us. So that'll be cool, and we're looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of different facets involved with emergency response and law enforcement in itself. And as he said, you could go on for hours and hours about everybody that helps us keep the ball rolling and making our jobs easier and making our jobs happen. But for me, it's, at least initially, I'd like to take this chance and use this platform to really amplify our guys and the ones that we work with, because we both know them on personal levels, professional levels. And I'm going to tell you right now, we've got some of the best guys that, in my opinion, has ever put a uniform on. And so it's an honor for me to be able to talk about those guys, bring those guys on here and let them talk with you guys and talk with us and just share, So that's my hope for this. I hope it's a learning, an ability to learn. I hope it's a platform for sharing, and I hope that eventually, as this thing gets rolling, we can just keep getting better at this and make it enjoyable. Our hope is for this to be a family-friendly podcast. This isn't going to be anything, all guts and glory and all the stuff you see on TV. There'll be some of that in there, obviously, but that's not the reason for this. This podcast ain't a beat on our chest how good we are. That's not our idea behind this. And going forward with some of the stuff that we may talk about, just a quick disclaimer. Due to the nature of our job, there's going to be some instances where some of the things we talk about may be a little bit graphic in nature. It just is what it is. That's just part of it. But me and him both will try to do our best to let you guys know that at the beginning of the episode that there may be some of that in there. That way, if you're riding down the road with your kids, or you're at home and you got a kid sitting next to you on the couch, you can either listen later or make it available for you. Because we don't want to offend anybody. We don't want kids to hear things they don't need to hear. But
we'll have to be careful on what we define as graphic
that's
too,
true,
because our perception compared to other
Yeah.
people's. You can ask my wife; I've got a different perception on things, and so we'll try to be considerate of that. And it is not going to be a blood, guts, and glory thing. We're not here to embarrass anybody, so we'll try to keep from using names and stuff when it is a private matter and stuff. And we won't be talking about ongoing cases. That's just something we can't do. But when we can reflect on other stuff, we will. And I think it'll be cool to talk about some of these scenarios and get your all's perspective on how you see it versus ours, and just the why behind what we do and how we have to do it. So, just be considerate. Like Lovett said, we'll have to remove some details, and some of the things may seem graphic to you all, but we'll try to refrain from getting too deep into that.
So we'll get into that a little more later on. This first episode, like I said, is more of an introductory episode. It's introduce him and myself, kind of give you a little bit of the reason why we're doing this. So I'll give you a quick background on me. I'm 32. I've lived in Allen County 90% of my life. I'm originally from Georgia, but I moved here when I was super young. So this is really the only home I've ever known. I graduated high school 2009 here. I played sports here. I quickly realized after graduating high school and going to college for a couple of years that college wasn't the route for me. So I quit, and then I got a job working construction, doing construction work. It was decent money, but I really wasn't happy with it. It was more something just to get me through. And I used to pick up a newspaper every morning, or once a week at the gas station, the Citizen Times, whenever it would come available during the week. And I picked up a copy of that, and I was sitting on a cooler on a lunch break, and I'd seen an ad in there from the sheriff's department looking for help, looking for a deputy sheriff, and I thought, man, I'm gonna try that. At the time, I wasn't married, I didn't have no kids, so I really wasn't tied down. I didn't really have no obligations or priorities, so I thought I'm gonna give it a shot. So I told the guy that I was working with, shout out Corey Shockley, I told him I was gonna do it, and he's like, dude, you're an idiot. And I thought, well, he might be right.
Hard to disagree.
Yeah, I was like, well, maybe you're wrong with something. But I thought, I'm going to try it. So I called the sheriff and asked him, what I needed to do. And it just so happened that the day I called was the last day we were taking applications. So I got an application in just in the nick of time. The next day I had to do all the physical standards and the written test. I done it. There was a lot of good applicants there. I didn't think I was going to get a phone call back. Luckily, I did. And the rest is kind of history with that. I was hired months later, went through the academy like everybody else, served as a deputy for a few years. I was promoted to a sergeant. I've done that for a few years, and then I've recently been promoted to a lieutenant. So that's my current position. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm married, got 2 boys. My family's my biggest accomplishment. Proud of them. Without them, none of this would be possible. They keep me moving, keep me motivated, keep me going. So I'm thankful for them. And that's kind of where I'm at today. If I'm not at work, you can usually find me chasing them around and aggravating my wife as much as possible.
Well, things happen fast in law enforcement, and I'm sure Brandon can attest to it more than me. But you look up and you're 5, 10 years
Yeah.
into the job.
Yeah.
Um, I'm Travis. Like Brandon, I'm a graduate of Allen County Scottsville High School. I did all my growing up here in Allen County. I'm deeply rooted in our community. I've always had a lot of pride in where I'm from and where I was raised, and a lot of people here help grow me up. But I spent all my glory days playing baseball, and I played at the high school and continued on to the college level, and that's how I got a college education. And my first career out of college was actually in education. I started teaching in Washington County, Kentucky, and quickly got a job offer back home after about a semester from a guy who's a dear friend. Still talk to him on a regular basis. Shout out to Randy Cook. Appreciate it. Also, pretty cool side note is, I was hired at the sheriff's office by Jeff,
Yeah.
and his wife was actually a director in the area where I worked in the school, and she was part of hiring me at the school system. So I've been hired by 2 different cooks.
He's been loved by the cooks for a long time.
So I got the opportunity to move back home and continue my teaching career. I spent about 8 years, nearly 8 years, teaching in the Allen County School District, where I taught and spent some time as a coach. During my time as a coach on the baseball field, that's kind of where I got to know a lot of people. Developed a relationship with a lot of kids and their parents, and a lot of those people still have a strong influence on me today. I still have relationships with those people, and I'm very grateful for those. There's too many to give shout outs, but you guys know who you are.
Yep, same here.
Met a lot of good teachers and leaders within the school system. We've got a lot of great people here. A lot of reason to be proud of our community. But after that, after nearly 8 years in, I just felt a need to change directions in life. And so I always had a little bit of an interest in law enforcement and stuff. And I started talking about it a little bit at home. And Emily was not very receptive of it initially.
Luckily, I got in before I was married.
Yeah. I had Nolan was 2 or 3 years old at the time. So a little bit, I put a little bit of a burden on her.
Sure.
But she handled it well, and eventually came around after actually a few years of talking about it. I started talking about this probably 4 or 5 years into my teaching career, and I got a little bit more serious about it as we went on. And here we are today. I made that jump nearly 6 years ago to go into law enforcement. Started my career with Bowling Green Police Department, great department, had a great experience there, learned a lot. They developed some great cops and do a good job at it. But I went to the academy. I spent about 20 weeks at the Department of Criminal Justice Training Center in Richmond, Kentucky. And as well as anybody that's been in the job with us, that the stressor that puts on the family being gone every week and stuff, and having to say goodbye every Sunday and leave your family.
That gets old pretty quick.
Yeah, but I have to give a shout out to my wife and son. They held down the fort and did a good job, and allowed me to focus on that, and because it's even harder if you've got worries back home.
Absolutely.
So I was in good hands and very blessed with my wife and what she was able to do and hold this down while I was gone. So I've been at the Allen County Sheriff's Office for nearly 5 or 6 years now. I started out in a patrol capacity. I worked the nights, mid shifts, day shifts, done some different things. I've been a sergeant for the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years now. I really enjoy my role now, working with new guys and taking care of those guys I work with. I'm very proud of the guys we work with, and that's what keeps us going is the people we work with. We've got a great group.
We do. I can't say enough good things about the guys we work with. We're lucky, especially being a smaller. When you start talking about numbers of police officers in an area, Allen County, just like some other rural counties, our numbers aren't very high. The city police actually have more officers than the county does. So we're a tight-knit group. We got a super good group. Man, I really can't. I can't say enough good stuff about them. We're pretty well versed. We got a bunch of studs, and we're glad to have them.
Absolutely. Outside of law enforcement, I'm married, a wife, and have a 9-year-old son. And outside of work, try to spend as much time as possible with the family and chasing my wife and son around, and most of my time revolves around just trying to conquer the never-ending plans that Emily puts out for us.
Yeah.
So it's a hard job, but I welcome it.
Yeah, it comes with the territory.
Yeah. So I'm proud of where I work. I'm proud of the leadership we have and the people I get to work with. From the top down, our department's very solid, and we're very fortunate for that. And some of the stuff we've been able to do, and how we've been able to see this department grow. You know, from our past sheriff who was very good representative for the department and very supportive of us. He loved his deputies.
He did.
And
Still does.
and on to Sheriff Ford. You know, he's continued that, and he continues to grow the department and move this thing in the right direction. And we'll be able to dive in a little deeper into some of these discussions as we go along. We won't ruin all of our
we won't get too far
content right now, but that's a little bit about us and where we come from and where we've ended. And we're happy to be here. We're excited about this show and some of the content we're going to be able to bring. I'll let Brandon tell you a little bit more about some of the future of it and what our plans are.
So ideally what we'd like to do is initially, as you're viewing this now, the first episode is just going to be something quick, introductory, kind of explaining who we are, why we're doing this, and where we're from, and kind of how it all came to be. Going forward, what we'd like to do is me and him not only discuss current events, everything related to policing, but also bring some people on that have a different perspective, different point of view, different job title, different experience levels, not just in law enforcement, maybe prior military, in the medical field as well. We're pretty broad as far as what we want to do with this. We haven't nailed down a schedule, but we're hoping maybe once a week, something like that, maybe drop an episode. But we're still getting all that hammered out, so just bear with us. That Facebook page that we started, that group, we'll try to keep everything updated there best we can. If we change that going forward, we find something works better, we'll let you know.
Yeah, so stay tuned for any updates on that Facebook page, new content we may release, some new whatever news we may have. We want to try to do some giveaways and stuff like that to maintain our interest and stuff and take care of you guys. We really appreciate the following. For the next episode, I think we're going to try to offer, like Brandon said, a question and answer type platform.
Yeah.
So on that Facebook page, you guys, we'd appreciate it if you start throwing out some ideas, maybe some topics you want to hear, some questions you want answered. And just keep in mind, if we don't use your question, it may be used on down the road or something, but we will reserve the right to not use whatever questions we don't want to use. So don't mean to be rude, but if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else.
That's a beautiful thing about a podcast. We do what we want. No, but seriously, we'll try to field all those questions the best we can. With the amount of following we got, I think it's going to be hard. We're going to be hard pressed to answer 500 something questions, in a allotted amount of time. So we'll skim through those, and I'm sure we'll have some of the same. So we'll try to take some of the questions that we feel like are, beneficial to us, beneficial to the listeners, and beneficial to our guys or what have you. We'll try to field those and answer those best we can, and we'll just kind of roll on from there. So get involved with us, man. We look forward to reading those and seeing those, and we'll get this thing going.
All right, stay tuned for the next episode. We appreciate the following, and you guys be safe, and we'll catch you later.